Welcome, everybody. Joe Quills here with you on this Tuesday night. I am back and I am trying to pull something up right now, and I selected the wrong day here. There we go. All right, so we're all set for the first part of the show here in a second. So, hope everybody's doing well out there tonight. Had We had some rain issues here yesterday, and um, I thought it was in the best interest that we um, just not have a show last night, and you know, so what I did was I just caught up on some things and watched a lot of sports because we had the Phillies game last night, we had the World Cup going on, we had this, we had that. I just took advantage of it and started working on some other things as well. But we're back, and I'll just let you guys know. Um, and I think okay, so Uh, everything there is accurate. Good, because as soon as I said that, I was like, uh, and just to let you know, that socials thing here, that's a Facebook feature. And just to let you guys know, you should subscribe to the Joe Quill Show on Twitch because I am now an affiliate. We did get to affiliate a couple weeks ago, and hopefully you guys can come over there because I'm going to start gaming soon, which means more opportunities to watch. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to do like channel points and things like that. And as a result, you can watch this show and get a heads up on those that are going to be watching just solely on Out of the Park Baseball. And yeah, so there's all my information there. You have to go over to Twitch to see it. But anyways, rainy day here for the most part here in Philadelphia. Parks canceled after the fifth race. I don't know what was up with that. If the jockeys just said, "Oh, we ain't riding." I don't know what the story was there, but I was looking at Instagram. It's like what they do is they show the winners of each race on Instagram. Like they have like this collage of winning horses, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6, 7, 8, 9. It's cancel, 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 cancel. But so, and it was just about the time that things were about to turn dry and uh, clearing up because we got a shit ton of rain yesterday. And if you're a fan of the World Cup, we do apologize that you did have to sit there for an hour and a half or whatever it was and not get the not get the soccer match that you wanted to watch. Um, but then again, Mbappe was smelling what Iraq was cooking, and that's why I need a drum shot. Uh, and also, I watched today's game while I was working on my bedroom today because changing some things around in the apartment, and I watched most of the England game against Ghana, and I have to tell you that my amateur opinion on it was um, just to let you guys know. And this is more my personal Facebook, which, if I can trace you to some other thing, I'll accept you. But if you're just some rando that I can't trace to a friend of a friend or through Q&A racing or whatever, I'm just not going to add you. But here was my observation on the game today. England played like they had, wait for it, gonorrhea because they played Ghana. Dad joke to start today. So, but But there's 3 more matches here in Philly. There's a match on Thursday, which is actually the cheapest seats I found on StubHub, or cheapest tickets of the 6 games in Philly from what I saw. And I wasn't keeping track because, I'm not paying arm, leg, and your testicles. But there was no way I'm spending $800 for a soccer game. Now I get it. I do get it. Because guess what? It's a once in a lifetime experience that is technically a second in a lifetime experience for me because of the fact that the World Cup was here in the United States in 1994, I believe. So you did have that. So, but for me, it'll be the last time in my lifetime, probably, that we'll see the World Cup in the United States. And I think the only reason why we got the World Cup was because some orange president, when he wasn't as dementia ridden as he was now, was pushing his buttons with the pushing the buttons with the pushing the buttons with the FIFA people who are pretty corrupt. But I do want. I mean, but this is why I would want to go. This is why I would want to go to a World Cup match. I mean, not because of the 2-hour storm delay, but because you get something like this. And this is from the Philly Mayor _ on Instagram. And the first observation I made about the whole Iraq-France game was the Iraqi fans are saying, what the fuck is this shit coming from the sky? Because they live in the middle of the world, in the middle of a fucking desert. But this is why I want to be, why I would like to get to a World Cup game, but kind of protecting my money. But it's going to look a little small, but I do apologize. But this is what the Iraqi fans were doing during the rain delay under the concourse when everybody had to take shelter because of all the lightning and heavy rain and everything else. Here we go. It's just the little things like that, because it's just something interesting came up, and it, you can say what you want about Iraqis and all that, but France did smell what Iraq was cooking, and yes, I use that joke twice. But it's those little things like that, because how often are we going to see a top-notch world matchup, even in the sense of everything that we do here? So, but yeah, so that's why I would do it. Why I would want to do it. But yeah, so that's why. So yeah, so but the Phillies got out of town at the perfect time. They got rained on yesterday in DC, but they're about to lose to Washington again tonight. I wish I had saved the post-game interview that I saw this morning. I saw it on Instagram, and probably Major League Baseball will probably end up dinging me for it, but Oh well. But I don't have it, so I'll never find out. So whoever Washington's um, post game interviewer was asked a question to whoever the Nationals player of the game was, and they said, "Oh, it's always good to beat those Phillies." Well, in a way, because you're in third place and we're in second right now, um, but yeah. So, but then again, we've been turning that stadium into Citizens Bank Park South since 2008, 2009. But um, yeah. So, but it's fun. But going back to this, I mean, you had quirky schedules, and the Phillies are going to have another quirky schedule next weekend, where they would normally play on the 3rd of July, which is a Friday, but they're off on Friday because the World Cup is across the parking lot in a second round match at Arrowhead. So obviously, just like Citizens Bank Park, where you shouldn't have two events at the same time, but they did have. I was wondering why there was a 4 o'clock game this afternoon. So I don't know how close the two stadiums are in Toronto, the Sky Dome and well, I still call it the Sky Dome. The Sky Dome and the race that and the Phillies have just tied the game at 8 because Brandon Marsh is going to have a hot date with with a P cup tonight because he had that ball about 600 feet, or so it seems. So, like I said, Philly scored, tied the game at 8. Brandon Marsh homer. Um, but I don't know. I don't know how close the soccer stadium is to the Rogers Center, aka Sky Dome. But whatever it was, um, you do, they had the baseball game at 4, so they can have the soccer match. So, but like for example, Kansas City, you can't host two at the same two events in that complex at the same time, and the same with same with Philadelphia. So, but so it'd be interesting to see what Phillies do here because they've fought back twice here, and it's now 8-8. Kyle Schwarber's out tonight because he had a back issue, but the Phillies are fighting and fighting and fighting here. But um, but also coming up, um, you know, we're going with the title of last night's show, which I started to set up, but Mike canceled on me. I was like, you know what? It may be a good idea just to cancel because I just had that feeling that if I had set everything up and I was ready to go, I just had that feeling that I was going to get a power outage. And the reason why I say that is because, my whole betting angle that I have, where if a team wins 10, 12 games in a row in baseball or loses 10, 12 in a row, oh, well, why are you betting a team that's lost 10, 12 in a row? Because they're due. I haven't had a power outage in a couple of years, so I'm due to have one. At least that's how I feel. So, but, so we're going with the same title here because we were going to make fun of the Mets last night because they were the first team since the 30s to give up an opponent, allowing opponent to a hit for the cycle and another player to hit 3 home runs in the same game. Ironically enough, that also happened in Philly at Shibe Park. Well, it eventually became Connie Mack Stadium, and now it's Grace Evangelical Church at 20th and Lehigh. But you do have, you just have to, just see the irony. I think it was the Yankees, so a little bit of irony because it was Philly against New York, but yeah. So we were going to make fun of the Mets a little bit yesterday, but we were going to do that, but we didn't. So, but we're going to talk about Brendan Sorsby because there was an update on his thing. Kyle Pitts agreed to a new deal. I'll go on a little thing about not watching the NBA draft. Well, partially it's because the game, Phillies game, is still on, and but we're going to begin with one thing, and if you remember, and I quote this movie so much, it's like I come up with these movie references that it's like we have breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. Joining Brandon Marsh with a P-cup sample is Bryson Stott because he just hit a long homer. And all of a sudden, the Phillies are up 11-8 in the ninth inning. And that's a 6-run ninth for the Phillies, I do believe. Five runs in the ninth. So the Phillies scored 1 in the seventh, 3 in the eighth, 5 in the ninth. Washington had a 99% chance of winning in the ninth inning, and now the Phillies have a 95% chance. So, but let's go back to the reference I'm going to make. So there's this saying, and this was definitely something I was going to cover last night. And this was just a carryover from that because, it's timely. So to quote Rosie Perez in White Man Can't Jump, no, not screwing is for carpenters, but she's not wrong. When she's either on the set of Jeopardy leading up to between matches or something like that, or whatever they were doing, she crosses paths with Woody Harrelson. And she says, sometimes when you win, you lose. And sometimes when you lose, you win. And sometimes when you win or lose, you actually tie. I should have had that as a sound drop, but I didn't. But that is the case of the town. And he ran Saturday at Churchill Downs. And I'll just let you know ahead of time, as soon as I saw that he was put into a claiming race, I'm like, he's getting claimed. So I'm going to play this race here. And we'll go from there. So here we go. And to ruin it, the town did win. As soon as this comes up, there we go.
They're in the gate, and they're...
The town is number 3 in this race. And of course,
They're in the gate.
Of course, he actually gets to a half-decent start for once here. And,
To the inside, coming
you
out of
know,
the starting gate.
he's not
A smooth
fast from
start
the
for
start,
to-do
but
men. And
he's the
Muirwoods
type of
races
horse
up
that,
outside, so these two
will
slightly pumped up,
be
heading for the
towards the
first
back
turn.
of the
Both
pack, but
riders trying to
he
back
isn't as
down the
far
early
back as he had
speed.
been in the
To-do
past. He's
men
more alert.
inside with a clear lead into the turn, though. Opens up to lead by 2.5. Muirwoods moves up, grabs a clear second from Gallic Charm,
So
who's down inside third. Jack
it does
Rabbit
look like
from
he's
the
boxed
outside
in
post to
here.
the two-path, racing in fourth. Are you looking for Ray Ray?
And,
Is fifth. As they hit the backstretch run, Kick a Buck moves up into sixth.
he
Wayland's
does look
inside
like
seventh.
he has
Clear
nowhere to
is
go.
eighth. The town is
But,
buried inside in ninth. Too clear.
I
Mountain
mean,
Wolf,
like
who's 10th. Frosted Bull's 11th
like
by
the
2.
announcer said here, he is
Admiral Hall's
buried.
at the
But the
back of
thing
the pack.
is, some
Behind a
horses are going to
swift
start
opening
tiring and
quarter in
stuff like that. So,
22
and then you
to a
got another turn
46
here
and
as well. And
4
they're going
demanding
way too
half
fast here,
mile.
46 and
Onto
4.
the far turn,
So
To-do men the leader. Mere
if
Woods
you're
is
the
poised
jockey
in
on this
second.
horse,
There's
you're
still
loving
1-2.
it.
To-do men
I think it goes
opens up in the far turn, 2 lengths.
So
To-do men is clear by 2
this
as they
will
near the quarter
come up.
pole. Mere Woods is pushed on in second as Gallic Charm comes through toward the inside third. Are you looking for Ray Ray? Cut the corner inside fourth, Hangling outside. Right there, 2. Kick a Buck. The town
So
is
here he
down
comes up the
inside.
rail, and
1
he's got
furlong
an
to
opening
go.
here.
To-do men
If he
got a
closes,
3-length lead at the 8th
and he's coming,
pole. The town comes through toward the
he's
inside,
coming.
and the town is getting into gear. The town is closing quickly.
Does
To-do
he
men,
go
lead is
for
2.
it?
Lead is 1. Leads a neck. It's going to be tight. Photo!
And the town does win.
The town might
The
have just got
134 and 1.
To-do men. It's a head bob photo finish. Are you looking for Ray Ray was third, and Gallic Charm was fourth.
So the town does win. Okay. But our worst nightmares were confirmed. There you go, right there. The town was claimed by Amati Stables, Aaron Shorter, the trainer. And I see Aaron Shorter, and I'm thinking,
who the fuck is that guy?
But unfortunately, the town is no longer part of the Q&A Racing stable. And that's a part of the racing game. It's part of the gamble that you make when you put in a horse for a claiming tag, especially the caliber of the town, who at least you're, at least a good allowance horse, lower level stakes horse, that sort of thing. But Philly scored 2 more runs. It's 13-8. But this is definitely something that AJ knew right away. He wasn't going to make out of this race without getting claimed. I knew it wasn't going to happen. And, but at least AJ, and I didn't really tell him about this, but then again, he's on vacation right now. So, but the thing is, not only does AJ get his piece of the town winning the 58, his piece of 58,000 purse, the owners get approximately 60%. I can tell you what it is exactly. So the winner gets $31,472. So depending on the shares that he has through Commonwealth for the town, he gets a piece of the $31,000 for winning the race. And then on top of that, he gets a piece of the claiming pie because the ownership groups get the 30,000 as well. So let's say I'm the lone owner and my horse gets claimed. I get the winner's share of the money and I get the claiming. I get the claiming money as well. So, but truthfully, I would not have, if, and the thing is, I don't know what the condition book was for a couple days prior, a couple days after, but the thing is, you do have you do have a risk there, and you put them in for a little bit of a higher tag, and you do get your money and stuff, but unfortunately he does get claimed and he's no longer part of our stable. Now, are we going to root against him? No. Matter of fact, I'm probably still going to bet him, because if he gets the setup again, he may win a couple more races, and who knows, may end up become a monster. But but the thing is, things happen like this, and sometimes they just won't do anything, going to a new trainer, and I don't know anything about that trainer. So your guess is as good as mine. Where was it? Because we're going to do a look on Aaron Shorter. So we're going to do a look on Aaron Shorter on Equibase, just to see what his numbers are like. So okay, so I got to put in the last name, because the first name, you put the first name with it, nothing comes up. Okay. Okay, so basically he's a low percentage trainer. He's had 67 starts this year, and he's won not good. Winning at 6%, in the money 24%. His best season in terms of win percentage was 2019, when he won at 24%, 13 for 54. So small stable, it looks like. Did have a maiden winner with Next Time, who won for the first time and is wheeled back. So it looks like maybe the town gets more action here, but it looks like he's based out of Oak Lawn and Churchill Downs. So may get to see the town back on the dirt. Who knows? He did sneak a horse to Will Rogers Downs this year, but for the most part, he's Oak Lawn and Churchill Downs. But the town did give us a bunch of thrills. I don't know if you want to say that this horse, you know, I don't want to say this horse underachieved or anything, but I just think that maybe, I mean, the one thing I said to AJ was I would have rather seen him a race on the dirt before you put him in for a tag. Because if you remember originally, his first two races, he's closing like a freight train. So I think this is a horse that could run on dirt as well. But I'm still going to keep him in my DRF watch because, you never know. Maybe he ends up coming back. But so all of a sudden, going to the bottom of the ninth, it's 14-8. And the Phillies are looking to steal this one from the Nationals. And the Phillies are showing why they've been in the playoffs the last 4 years, and the Nationals are just the Nationals. But good luck to the town, and good luck to the new connections. And never know, maybe he's back in our stable again someday. Who knows? But just want to let you guys know. Also eligible, we will be covering the big matchup in the Stephen Foster Stakes on Saturday. Sovereignty, Baeza, Barrio, and Magnitude are all running. Now, if you watched the show on Saturday, I did have Nisos on here as well. I just had to create a new slide here because I saw Nisos on the nominations. I'm like, man, if he runs, holy shit. But we still have 4 horses in this race here that are 4 monsters. Sovereignty and Baeza are both Bill Mott horses. I think this is Baeza's second start with Bill Mott. Let me just double check that. Yes, it will be his second start because he Bill Mott was given Baeza to train after the passing of John Shires, which I'm not sure I want to win the Pennsylvania Derby if I'm a trainer because the last 2 trainers have passed the next year. Because D. Wayne Lucas won with Seize the Gray 2 years ago. Last year was Baeza, but I don't know. Thankfully, Jessica Paquette's not watching. But But anyways, so, and also, just to let you guys know ahead of time, I will be doing a show on the 4th of July because they have racing from Saratoga. And I really like the way that this turned out. So I just wanted to show you that. So QARacing.com and on these same streaming platforms as well, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific on both Saturdays. And, a little bit of Americana with there and, just a little something that I worked on over the last couple of weeks. So now, is it me or I just don't give a shit about the NBA draft? I mean, well, first of all, it snuck up on me. And the thing is, the way that this sneaks up on you, we just had the title selected a week or so ago. So, and the thing is, you do have, and the Sixers are drafting 22nd tonight. Okay. So, and the thing is, I'm just like, but I'm not really I guess because the Sixers made it to the playoffs and everything else, it's like, do I really care? But you do have that. But we did have a big trade yesterday, as Giannis got traded to Miami. Um, and in terms of the money that Giannis makes, it kind of makes sense in terms of personal preference because Florida does not have a state income tax. So he'll have a little bit of extra money in his pocket that he may not have had in Wisconsin, but I don't know what their tax situation is. But um, so the Milwaukee Bucks traded Giannis and Bobby Portis to the Heat for Tyler Hero, Khalil Ware, Jaime Jaquez Jr., Kasparis Yakunis, 3 first-round picks, including number 13 tonight, which I think was about to be selected, 1 pick swap, and 1 second-round pick, according to ESPN. So um, the Heat are sending unprotected first-rounders in 31 and 33, along with number 13, a pick swap in 2030, and a 2033 second-rounder. So and it's a 1-to-1 move. There is no third team that had to get involved with salary cap and everything like that. So, um, but um, but they said here that both the Heat and the Bucks will execute the deal on July 6th, which is, I believe, the first day that trades and free agent moves become official. So that will leave the framework open to see whether there are opportunities to expand this deal. Last June, Phoenix and Houston agreed to a deal that ultimately increased to an historic 17 trade. So, um, um, but it's everything that's in this deal. It's mind-boggling how much stuff is changing hands here. So, but Giannis gets out of Milwaukee. Um, he goes to Miami, and Milwaukee will probably be in the draft lottery for the next few years. And the draft lottery is going to be changing up too, so probably a bad time to do that. But yeah, so I didn't put that on there, but I have to acknowledge that. So, but I admit, you know, I mean, I'm not that interested in the draft tonight. I don't know why, but I guess because with the World Cup going on, with baseball going on, with everything else going on, and trying to decompress from the weekend of racing, that it just it just didn't dawn on me that the draft was tomorrow night. So, but the Phillies did win 14-9, by the way. So I don't know what you guys think, but I just feel like it's a little bit of little. It just came up on me real quick, and I wasn't paying attention. I mean, after you had an insane finals, actually both finals, the NHL Stanley Cup final and the NBA finals. I mean, for a 5-game series, it was pretty damn exciting to see these miracle comebacks game after game after game. And you also had the Stanley Cup final where it was just back and forth um, for the first 4 or 5 games of the series. But yeah, so I don't know, but it just seems that way. But yeah, I mean, even if you comment after the fact, if the show's over on my YouTube or the Q&A Sports Zone YouTube, feel free to comment. Maybe I'm just don't want to deal with basketball right now because we have football training camp next month. We have football here in the United States. Um, so much stuff going on. WNBA. Caitlin Clark got a technical foul last night. From what I heard, because she was clapping. But whatever. So now the NBA draft is tonight. Now Brendan Sorsby, he tried to apply for the supplemental draft of the NFL. And this is something that the NFL has from time to time when somebody's ruled ineligible after the draft is completed. So Brendan Sorsby found out today that he will not have there will not be a supplemental draft so he can get into the NFL. I mean, I have questions that maybe some people don't really know. And I admit, I was highlighting this up a little late and I didn't get a chance to look at the collective bargaining agreement because the question that I would have, we'll get to it in a second. Um, when is an NFL player technically in the Players Association? That's the question I have, but we'll get into that in a second. So Sorsby will not play in the NFL in 2026. The league has elected not to hold a supplemental draft. And if you remember over the last couple of weeks, I said, well, is this game, was this game, was he actually doing the rehab for his own sake or for the sake of trying to get back to playing? But, because he has this mental illness, everything's a mental illness now, but the league chose not to have a supplemental draft. Now the NFL's decision came down to its right to decide whether to hold a supplemental draft per the collective bargaining agreement. As league officials said, they believed it would ultimately become a distraction to the teams as they begin training camps. Training camps are still a couple weeks away, but you're starting to prep for it. Now, here's the issue that we've been raising for the last couple of weeks, month, however long we've been talking about Brendan Sorsby. An NFL source told ESPN his application carries with it a lot of issues, core of the game integrity issues. There you go. Because remember I was talking about Pete Rose and everybody says, oh, he just bet on his own team when he was managing. When his team was involved, he bet on his team. He didn't bet against his team. Well, one slight issue that I raise all the time when people were saying that, oh, Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame, blah 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 blah. Now, the one thing I would say is, well, what would have happened if this was a couple years later and he was elected into the Hall of Fame? But that's something that never happened. But the one thing I've always said is, looking back, because hindsight is 2020. If you're going to, if you're going to, um, if you're going to make a pitching change, or you're making a substitution that, is not necessitated because of an injury. Now, looking back on it, okay, now are you doing this? Are you doing this move because the game flow and strategy and stuff like that, is it on the up and up? Or is it because you're trying to protect a wager? You're bringing whoever their closer was in 1988, John Franco, whoever it was. I don't even know. It's irrelevant. I'm only saying John Franco because he was doing the Sunday night game with John Kruk on NBC. So that's the only reason why I did it. And John Kruk, who I had a day where I did not have to listen to his incoherent ramblings. That's the argument that I have with not allowing Pete Rose in, even after he got reinstated because he died. Now, the thing is, somewhere along the way, permanent ban became a lifetime ban. Well, he's dead now, so he can. But, but I will say this. There is integrity issues here because, granted, we don't know, and the investigation, from what we know, did not happen to have any, didn't have any, he wasn't playing any games. It isn't like the NBA ones where, oh, I'm betting, I'm telling people to bet on me, and I'm also betting on me to get under 5.5 rebounds. Well, I'm going to start the game, play about 5 or 6 minutes, get about 3 rebounds, and my back hurts. That's how a couple of NBA players got banned for life. So I will say this. I even question, and I probably should not question it. Now, I'm not going to lie. I do have mental health issues. Well, my family will say I've been mental since the day I was born, but you know what I mean. I have anxiety. I was diagnosed with depression, but, the thing is, I know how to handle it. My anxiety goes through the roof. I know how to get myself under control. So, but I shouldn't, given the mental health issues that I've had, I probably shouldn't question him going to a mental health rehab for gambling. But part of me says he was just going to rehab so he could get back into the NCAA. Because remember, he had that lawsuit that got pulled after he won, and I think they knew that he wasn't going to win because it's all a matter of where you file your appeals and stuff like that. And he conveniently had his in Lubbock, where Texas Tech is. But so he admitted on betting thousands of times on college and pro sports, including, and there's all different rules with the NCAA stuff that we got into before. But bets totaling upward of $90,000. And oh, by the way, certain states you can't wager on sportsbook. So he's getting somebody to bet for him as well, which is a bit of a no-no. But he also had 40 wagers on Indiana football while he was on the team. So there's the red flag. Now, Sorsby's attorney, Jeffrey Kessler, told ESPN that the NFL's decision to not hold a supplemental draft is a violation of the CBA and the law. We will pursue this immediately with the NFLPA. Now, a union source told ESPN that the NFLPA has not made any determination, at least when this article was posted. They have not made any determination on whether there are legal grounds to act on this. Well, also, you're talking about a situation here where you have integrity issues with the person. And also with the fact that if you think about it, you have integrity issues, you have all this stuff going on, and it leads to my question: when is a football player technically in the NFLPA? Is it the moment that they're drafted? Is it the moment that they sign the contract? Because I know with the two union jobs that I've had, you fill out all the paperwork of the W-2s or whatever forms they are. And you do all that stuff, and you fill out the paperwork, and the union stuff that gets you into the union, and you talk to the union rep and stuff like that. So I don't know, because sports is something different, because you have labor law that's involved. Now, I can make an argument that he could win this case because of the fact that this is in the collective bargaining agreement, that if somebody applies, the NFL could hold a supplemental draft. But you can also argue the NFL could deny that as well, like they did. But we're seeing a lot of he said, she said issues here. We're going to get into he said, she said issues here. So he was initially issued a temporary injunction to clear the path to play Texas Tech this season. But when the Big 12 filed in federal court with aims to punish Sorsby at Texas Tech, Sorsby withdrew his suit and declared for the supplemental draft. And I think also the NCAA, they were probably going to file an appeal at a court which is more favorable to them. Because remember, Sorsby's lawyers filed in Lubbock, Texas. Well, oh, by the way, that's where Texas Tech is. So now The league told Sorsby in a letter, which ESPN obtained, that your petition, filed 3 business days before the deadline, without any supporting information or documentation, and only after abandoning your recent litigation efforts to avoid NCAA sanctions, does not provide a basis for the league to alter those plans. Yeah, he's avoiding. I mean, it's the same as, somebody being declared. But the thing is now, even more so, because we have the NIL factor involved. Oh, I want my NIL money. I want my MTV too. So you have all that going on. So now Sorsby had initially been issued that temporary injunction. Big 12 filed in federal court. But then again, I don't know if the Big 12 can punish Sorsby when the NCAA has final say over the. I mean, maybe I'm thinking too much into it, but so the league's letter to Sorsby said the sole reasons he sought entry in the petition was that he had been declared ineligible. That's what the supplemental draft is for. It's for when you have somebody who's become ineligible after the draft has taken place. Hello? The letter states the petition provides no information regarding the basis for or timing of the NCAA's decision. Public sources, however, indicate that in May 2026, the NCAA issued a determination declaring you permanently ineligible for participation from college athletics, but on a sustained pattern of improper gambling activity during your collegiate career at 3 different universities. Because he started out somewhere else, then went to Indiana, then went to Texas Tech. And, the Texas Tech one is the toughest one for me, even though Indiana's pretty tough as well, because he was in a state where you don't have sportsbook gambling. But the letter signed by Larry Farizani, the general counsel of the NFL Management Council, added that Sorsby's petition does not demonstrate accountability for your conduct or indicate whether or how you would adhere to the league's rules and policies governing the integrity of competition. And I know what the reply would be in regards to that. It'd be like, I did go to rehab. And I said, no. That Amy Winehouse song, Rehab. So instead, even after receiving notice of the NCAA's decision rescinding your college eligibility in May, you sought to avoid the consequences of that determination through litigation rather than accepting responsibility for your actions, and you pursued entry into the NFL only after abandoning those efforts. So kind of fair, but, I would think that, you can go both ways here. So Sorsby's lawyer Kessler requested the application last week, filled out the basic information, and was told by the league when asked by his agent that no additional information was needed. So we're getting into he said, she said territory here. And we're seeing Sorsby kind of being just as, well, I don't want to say morally corrupt, but, well, we can, but, be careful with our words here. But so Kessler said the application asked for basic biographical information, responses to 4 yes or no questions that include a small space for Mr. Sorsby to state why you are applying for the 2026 supplemental draft. It did not provide an opportunity or ask that Mr. Sorsby submit any additional documentation or information. Now, the one question I would say I would have, could you put that on there like we want additional information? You know, I don't know how that works, but so Mr. Sorsby fully complete the application and submit it to the NFL within hours of receiving it. So I think we're at a point in college sports and everything where everything will get litigated at first because, you know, we're making millions of dollars and we're losing that by getting deemed ineligible. But you end up, you know, but could you apply and do that at the same time and then withdraw? I mean, can you withdraw from the draft? Can you withdraw from the draft at the last minute, or is there like a deadline where is that deadline that they have? Is that deadline in such a thing where once you're in, you're in? Once that deadline passes, you're in? I mean, a whole bunch of questions I have as well. But nobody's been selected in the supplemental draft since 2019. Now, he could play in the CFL. He's currently ineligible to play collegiately under the NCAA rules. So he can go to Canada, but even with Canada, I think their bylaws state that he would be in Canada for 2 to 3 years, I believe. Farazani, the NFL representative here, said, as Commissioner Goodell has emphasized, participation in the NFL is a privilege that carries with it significant responsibilities. Yeah. Including accountability. By all accounts, you're a talented player with the potential of future success. We encourage you to focus on preparing for a possible entry into the NFL through the 2027 annual draft. So they're not completely shutting him down from the NFL yet. It's just that not yet. But the NFL source added of Sorsby's late filing, it's an avoidance of the distraction to teams caused by his own timing. Well, that's where I question, could he have applied and gone through the litigation process and been allowed to withdraw? Could he have done that? Or could he, I mean, there's so many tentacles to this that I question here, but I would be very shocked if he did get drafted in a regular NFL draft next year because of the integrity issues here. I mean, this is probably the same as Trevor Bauer, who, by the way, had his contract picked up by a Mexican team the other day. I would just wonder, but, Trevor Bauer's a whole different thing, but, I just wonder if Brendan Sorsby, if he doesn't get drafted, ends up getting ends up saying, well, I got blackballed, I'm going to sue just like Colin Kaepernick did. And I do want to say that I'm trying to be careful with my words here. But I question if he really went to rehab to win that case to get back into college sports or not. Because I have all kinds of, I mean, and being somebody who does have some mental health issues from time to time, but then again, don't we all in some way, shape, or form? I question, well, what was the reason that he went to rehab? Was it truly because you knew you had a problem in gambling? Or was the problem because you got kicked out of the NCAA? Now, I don't know if he can actually go to an NAIA school. Now, granted, he goes to NAIA, they have their own governing thing, and I'm sure they would say, you bet on football, we're not taking him. Because NAIA is a total different governing body of small college schools. And the one thing I said about, like, for example, when UNLV was in their wars with the NCAA with Jerry Tarkanian, one of the things that somebody speculated was, well, what if UNLV withdrew from the NCAA? Well, if they created their own governing body or they went NAIA, let's say they went NAIA, I'm sure a lot of those small colleges all of a sudden would be like, or the colleges in their conference would be like, yeah, we're going to go too. Or they may just say, good riddance, Jerry. But when it comes to this, the whole question I have, if this goes to court, is when is he technically part of the Players Association? Now, the Players Association can say, you're denying us an opportunity for somebody becoming part of our union. This technically could be union busting, even if it's just one person, but it is about this one person who has had major integrity issues and may not even get drafted in the NFL. And if he doesn't get drafted in the NFL in 27, may never see an NFL field. Now, the other question I have is, as well, because we do have that spring football stuff, could he play in the UFL? But that's bylaws and everything like that. But I don't think he could. See, you get this situation where it's like, I don't know what to do with this, but just all different things that we could speculate here as well. And I'm sure if somebody knows, go to my YouTube, which is Joe Quills, or you can go to Q&A Sports Zone's YouTube, comment, because, the thing is, people say, well, your numbers, your viewership on Twitch, blah, 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 blah. But the thing is, part of the reason why I stream to my YouTube, the Q&A Racing YouTube, besides being part of the Q&A Sports Zone, is the fact that the way I stream is, because not only can you participate in chat. Even if you're on one of those YouTubes, comment, and I can do some research. I can say, well, this doesn't, because we got it's so many different things that we can look into here. So, but so many questions I have, and there's actually more questions than answers with all this. So that's what's the crazy thing with this. But now, one guy who did get drafted a few years ago was Kyle Pitts, who went to Archbishop Wood. Went to, I think it was Virginia Tech, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Where did he play college ball? Damn it. And that also reminds me. My race is about to go off. So we're going to watch. Whoops, sorry. We got a sloppy track here. I am on the 4. Well, but Kyle Pitts, let me see here. I'm sorry, he went to Florida, so I was way off. I'm not even in the right conference. So I might give myself one of those because I deserve it. And, it happens sometimes. So I'm on the 4 here, and he is 7-5 on the morning line. That is that's the 4 Mission Beach. I just think he's getting the perfect trip here with CPG on the outside, even though I would kind of prefer my stalking horse on the outside of the horse that's on the lead, but I have him on the inside here. So I did not wager on this race here, but just give you an update on this. So, and by the way, you can go to Q&A Racing for Quill's Picks winners. That's that drops every day. So they're going 6 furlongs here, and they're off. And of course, got a couple of horses here, a couple of jockeys here, the same. Actually, the horse I was expecting to go for the lead did not get the lead. And we have a 4-horse speed duel up front, the 4, 5, 6, and 8. Yay me. But my horse is on the lead here. We got 4, 5, 6, and 8 all gunning for the lead, and you got the tight turn here to send a boy at downs here because it's a 6.5 furlong track. And the 8 is making a move on the outside, I believe. And the 4 is wide, but everybody's really wide. And that opens up the rail for the 2 here. But the 4 is drawing off. No, he's not. Here comes the 5 at 14-1, taking over the lead. And it's a mad dash for the finish for second, but the 5 wins at 14-1. That is Bergheim. So we'll get back to the drawing board tomorrow. So Um, so, we Kyle Pitts got a new 3-year deal. Now he did get the franchise tag placed on him, but they reached an agreement on 3-year deal today. 3 years for $54 million, $18 million. I'm sorry, $36 million fully guaranteed. Sources told Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport. The $18 million average annual value of Pitt's deal is the third highest for a tight end, behind George Kittle's $19.1 million and Trey McBride's $19. So now it's like, at first I'm like, well, wasn't he a bust? Well, he had 3 years where he had injuries, so they used the franchise tag on Pitts for this year, which was at $15,045,000, which is the average salary of the top 5 players at that position. So that the franchise tag gets ripped up in that contract. Now, the Falcons and Pitts had until July 15th to work out a long-term extension. Now, he's under contract until 2028. Now, you're going to have a situation kind of like what, in a way, but not really, because you're talking about a first-round pick versus a guy who is Mr. Irrelevant in Brock Purdy, where you can load up your offensive weapons for Michael Penix Jr. III, Michael Penis Jr. III, and he will be, Penix will have his weapons. He has Drake London, who was extended 4 years for $141. Now they're going to focus on Bijan Robinson. But Pitts was second in the league in receptions last year and receiving yards among tight ends, 88 receptions, 928 yards. And he had 5 touchdowns. Last December, he had one of the greatest performances for a tight end in NFL history. He had 11 receptions for 166 with 3 touchdowns against the Bucs. He became the first tight end to reach at least 150 yards with 3 touchdowns in a game since Shannon Sharpe in 1996. So it's been a while. So he had 1,026 receiving yards in his first year. He was drafted number 4, which was a controversial pick because you usually don't take tight ends that high. He dealt with injuries and inconsistency through the next 3 seasons, not reaching 700 receiving yards in any of them before breaking out again last year. So obviously they opted into the 5th year of the contract, and he got what happened there. So keeping Pitts is another indication of the Falcons regime trying to shore up the future by holding on to the team's core base of skilled players. Because, oh, by the way, our quarterback is only making a couple $1 million a year. So that money that we're not spending on the quarterback, we can use for different people. And probably Bijan's probably next. So we'll see what he does there. And I don't know if the Falcons are going to be a team. I mean, do we call them a team to beat? Do we call them a team on the rise? I don't know what we call them, but But the great thing is, football will be here before we know it, and go Birds. At least my Birds, not those Birds. But yeah. So good to be back here tonight. And we'll be back on Thursday, 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Pacific. And we'll get this all squared away here. So, and the Mets did lose to the Cubs. But that's it for now. And I do appreciate each and every one of you. And we'll be back on Thursday at 9 o'clock. And then also eligible on Saturday for that big matchup between among Sovereignty, Baeza, White Barrio, and Magnitude. So that's it for now. And I do appreciate each and every one of you. It's a little bit of a shorter show tonight, but maybe we do a longer one on Thursday. But do appreciate each and every one of you. So let's do it live again, 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Pacific, right here at twitch.tv/JoeQuills, where you should be subscribing, but also my YouTube, the Q&A Racing, Q&A Sports Zone YouTube, and the Q&A Facebook. So that's it for now. Hope everybody's a great night, and stay dry. At least it's starting to dry out here after all the stuff that we had. And I guess I'll see you guys in the winner's circle, even though my picks haven't been coming in. But it's only a matter of time before I get red hot again. So have a great night, everybody. See you in the winner's circle.